Last class, we have discussed about the parts and different types of microscope, is it? Today, we are going to study about the second part of the first chapter. Okay, we all know that what is the name of our first chapter? Life's Mysterious in Little Chambers. Life's Mysterious in Little Chambers. Our Life's Mysteries in Little Chambers is the name of our first chapter. So in this chapter, today we are going to deal with the second part of this chapter. Okay, last class we studied there are different types of microscope and the different parts of microscope and the function of each part we have studied in the last class. Today, we have studied that. Last class itself, we asked, what is the little chambers? And in our chapter, it comes, Life's Mysteries in Little Chambers. So what's this little chambers? Last class itself, we asked. That means these little chambers are the cells. We discussed that these little chambers are the cells. And the scientist who discovered the cell is Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke discovered the cell and he observed the cell using a simple microscope. Robert Hooke observed a section of a cork using a simple microscope, and he observed that he seen some tiny or little chambers. He named those little chambers as cell. Okay. Now we have to know and the study of the cell in the science, the study of the cell is known as the cell biology. Okay, so what we will call the study of cells, the study of the cells is called as the cell biology. So, apart from Robert Hooke, we all know that now, Robert Hooke discovered the cell. Apart from the scientist Robert Hooke, there are so many scientists made their discoveries about the cell. So, we have to know which are the scientists and what are the discoveries about the cell. So, let's go and check which are the scientists and what are the discoveries made by these scientists. Yes, here you can see first Robert Hooke. We all told that Robert Hooke discovered the cell. And next one is the Robert Brown. Robert Brown is the scientist who discovered the center of the cell, and he named that center of the cell as nucleus. So we told that Robert Hooke observed the little chambers or the tiny chambers, and he called it as the cell. Now the scientist Robert Brown discovered and he found out that this tiny chambers has a center, and he called or named that center as the nucleus. Then next scientist is the M.J. Sheldon. M.J. Sheldon found out that, M.J. Sheldon found out that the body of the plant is made up of cells. So he found out that the body of a plant is made up of cells. Then comes the Theodore Schwann. He found out that the body of an animal is made up of cells. So what we have studied now, Robert Hooke is the scientist who found out that he discovered the cell. He observed those little chambers through the simple microscope, and he called those little chambers as a cell. After that, Robert Brown, what he called the cell. This little chambers has a center, and he called the center of the little chambers as the nucleus. So the center of the cell is called as the nucleus. Next comes the M.J. Sheldon. He found out that the body of a plant is made up of cells. Then comes Theodore Schwann. He found out that the body of an animal is made up of cells. And another scientist is Rudolf Virchow. Rudolf Virchow, he observed the dividing cells and inferred that new cells are arises only from the existing cells. So the cell is dividing and the growth is happening. So for that division, that only existing cells can divide and new cells are formed there. He observed the division of he observed the dividing cells and he got the inference, he got the conclusion that cells are arising, or new cells are arising only from the existing cells. Is it clear for you? So we have studied what Robert Hooke, he discovered cell. Robert Brown discovered the center of the cell and he named that center as the nucleus. And M.J. Sheridan, he found out the plant body is made up of cell. And Theodore Schwann, he found out that animal body is made up of cells. And the next is scientist Rudolf Virchow. He found out that, or he observed the dividing cells and inferred that new cells arises only from the existing cells. Next, we are going to see about the cell theory. Is it clear for you? So we have already came across the name M.J. Sheridan and Theodore Schwann. These two scientists formulated the theory, cell theory, and the cell theory consists of 2 points. Okay, also M.J. Sheridan and Theodore Schwann formulated the cell theory, and cell theory consists of 2 points, and there are 2 main points coming under the cell theory. First point is the body of all organisms is made up of cell. Okay, so you should understand that we have told that a plant body is made up of cell, animal body is made up of cell. So apart from the plant and animal, there are microorganisms in our world, is it? So the body of all organism is made up of cell. Then the second point, what it tells, cells are the structural and functional units of organisms. So the cell theory formulated by M.J. Sheridan and Theodore Schwann, they combine the cell theory. Cell theory combined together to form the cell theory, and what they formulated, the 2 main points comes under the cell theory. The body of all organisms is made up of cells. Cells are the structural and functional units of organisms in our body. The cells are doing so many functions in our body. Okay, so the cells are the structural and functional units of organism. This is the cell theory. So once more I will repeat for you. Listen, what is cell theory? Cell theory, who are the scientists who formulated cell theory? And that time you have to write what M.J. Sheridan and Theodore Schwann formulated cell theory, and what they proposed, what are the points coming under the cell theory? The body of all organism is made up of cell. Cells are the structural and functional units of organisms. It's clear for you. Cells are doing a lot of functions in our body, and there are different types of cells also present in our body. We will study next parts of the chapter, in coming chapters and all. We will study about what are the different types of cells present in our body. And next step, we are going to study about what is the function done by the cell. Next step. So now we studied the name of the scientist who discovered cell and who made other discoveries related to cell, and what is cell theory, and we have came across all these points. Next is our functions performed by the cell. So there are so many functions performed by the cell. Among those functions, some of the main functions are given here. Okay, so these are the important functions you should keep in mind. What are the functions performed by the cell? Here you can see the functions of the cell. First one is resist foreign particles. So what do you mean by foreign particles? And what is resist foreign particles? Let me ask you one thing. Who we are calling foreigners? Whom we are calling the foreigners? That means
those who are coming from outside our country, those who not belong to our country is called the foreigners, is it? Likewise, in our body also, what are the things not belong to our body? What are the things coming from outside into our body? Those things are called as the foreign particles. So relate and study as like the meaning of the foreigners. The foreign particles here also the same. That is, this is the foreign particles means. That what foreign particles are entering our body? You all know that. What? Viruses, bacteria, is it? All this will cause diseases. Is it clear for you? And so the viruses and the bacteria, all the things that is entering our body will cause the diseases to our body. We all know that recently a virus disease is what is that disease? It is spreading and it is threatening the world, whole world. It is a communicable disease. It is easily spread. That's disease. What is that disease? Corona, is it? It is a viral disease. COVID-19 is the virus which spread the corona. So you all are aware of that. Recently, we are in a threat of corona. So that is a viral disease. So it is a foreign body that is entering our body, is it? So likewise, those diseases, that is bacteria and viruses that is entering to our body, that is making diseases to us. So while they are entering to our body, our cell will react or resist towards that. They will try to destroy those things. Is it clear for you? Then next is the next function of the cell is synthesis of biomolecules. Synthesis of biomolecules. Sorry. Next function is the synthesis of biomolecules. What do you mean by synthesis of biomolecules? Biomolecules, have you heard about hormones? Hormones, you may not be familiar with the hormones. Let me tell with the carbohydrates, fats, proteins, all these are the nutrients we are hearing in our daily life now. So all these things, all these are synthesized with the help of the cell. So cell having a function, synthesis of the biomolecules. Is it clear for you? So later in your remaining part, you will study what is hormones, all those things you will study. So enzymes, hormones, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, everything is synthesized with the help of biomolecules. Okay, then next, release energy from nutrients. So it is releasing energy from the nutrients. So how cell is releasing energy from nutrients? Cell will release the energy from nutrients. How cell is releasing energy from nutrients is while we are taking the food. We all know that while we are taking the food, and that is after digestion. What will happen after the digestion? The nutrients are absorbed into the blood, is it? So while the nutrients are absorbed into the blood, what happens? This blood will take the nutrients to different cells of our body, each cell of our body. When this nutrients reaches our cell, there happens a breakdown of these nutrients and energy is released. How the breakdown of these nutrients is happening, and we know how it is happening. We all know that we are taking oxygen inside, is it? As we are taking the oxygen inside, what happens? This oxygen will, as nutrients reach the cell, this oxygen also move through the blood into each cell. When this oxygen reaches the cell, what happens? The oxygen will break down the nutrients, and this oxygen will break down the nutrients and releases carbon dioxide and energy. For energy, our cells are using the energy for our different activities inside the cell. The energy is used, is it? Then what is happening? The carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is absorbed into the blood, and it is in turn reaching through the blood. It is reaching the lungs, and from the lungs it is given outside to our nostrils. Is it? So what we have studied in the process of breathing, we are taking inside oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. This is how carbon dioxide is formed inside our body. This is clear for you. That is the function. So once more I will tell you the functions performed by the cells: resist foreign particles, synthesize biomolecules, the releasing energy from nutrients. These are the points coming under the functions of the cell. So once more, keep in your mind, resist foreign particles. What do you mean by resist foreign particles? The particles that are not present in our body. So whatever particles that is entering into our body, our cell will fight against it or resist those things. And synthesis of biomolecules. As I told you, what is biomolecules? The molecules like hormones and carbohydrates, proteins, fat, everything is with the help of a cell. It is synthesized in our body also. Apart from we are taking from the food, these biomolecules are synthesized in our body also. Then releases energy from nutrients. So we all know that if we intake of food, what food we are taking, it consists of so many nutrients in it. All these nutrients should be break down and release the energy. And the energy is used by the cell for doing the different functions in our body. Is it clear for you? That all things you will study. What are the functions performed by the cell, and what is the function of a cell, how a cell is functioning, everything you will study. Okay. So next step. Next we are going to study about the structure of a plant cell. Okay. So what up to this time, what we have studied at the microscope, but Robert Hooke. Who is Robert Hooke? Robert Hooke is the scientist who discovered cells. So through a microscope, simple microscope, Robert Hooke observed the section of a cork. The cork is the part of wood. Okay, so section of cork, and he observed the section of cork and he found some little chambers, and he called those little chambers as a cell. And the scientist Robert Brown, he told that what these little chambers as a center, and he called those little chambers as a nucleus. And the next scientist, what M.J. Sheridan, he found out that body of a plant is made up of cells. Then comes the Theodore Short. He found out what body of animal is made up of cells. So all these things we have studied. Then Rudolf Virchow, he found out, he observed the dividing cells and he inferred what new cells arising only from the existing cells. All these scientists have made so many discoveries about the cell, and we have from that we have got some idea about the cell. Is it? So in the structure of the cell, now you know only what the center of the cell is known as the nucleus, and the next thing is the cytoplasm. The fluid part inside the cell, fluid part is present. That fluid part is called as the cytoplasm. You can see in the picture, and the fluid part of the cell is known as the cytoplasm. Okay, and you can see, and the cell is having a rigid cell wall, cell membrane, and all these are having for the cell. And inside this, after this cell wall and cell membrane, inside the cell, what is present? A fluid part is present in the cell, and that fluid part is called as the cytoplasm. And another thing is, what is the center of the cell called as? Center of the cell is called as the nucleus. Okay. Then another part is what? You can see another part is ribosomes. These ribosomes help in the protein synthesis. I have already told you, what I have told you, cell plays an important role in synthesis of biomolecules. Protein is a biomolecule. So what helps? This ribosome helps in the synthesis of biomolecules or synthesis of proteins. So you can see this ribosome either floating in the cytoplasm or seen attached to another cell organelle, that is endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is known as the cytoskeleton. Okay, so endoplasmic reticulum. Here, different types of endoplasmic reticulum is shown. There's no need for you to study differentiating between the only one cell organelle you can keep in your mind, that is endoplasmic reticulum. This endoplasmic reticulum, what will do? Endoplasmic reticulum is known as what? Cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton means it provides the shape and rigidity to the cell. Okay. Then, so what I have told is, you can see this ribosome either attached to the endoplasmic reticulum or freely floating in the cell. Next comes the vacuole. Vacuole having a protective, it is having a covering and it is known as the tonoplast. Vacuole helps in the storage of salt and water in the cell. Okay, then comes the mitochondria. So mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell, and it is why it is called as the powerhouse of the cell, and because it helps in the storage and the production of the energy. So the function of mitochondria is the storage and production of energy. So always there is used to ask a question: what is why? Which is the powerhouse of the cell? So you have to give the answer: mitochondria. Why mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell? Why mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell? Because it helps in the production and storage of energy. Is it clear for you? So these are some of the cell organelles. More detailed explanation about the cell organelles and their function, everything we can study in the next class. So once more I will tell you, we have studied in this chapter, we have studied about the parts and functions and different types of a microscope, and what we have studied cell, discovery of the cell, and Robert Hooke discovered the cell, and the other scientists who made discoveries related to the cell. All these things, the structure of a cell, cell theory, and cell organelles, the functions of a cell, different functions of the cell organelles, and we have came across only some of the cell organelles. All the cell organelles we didn't discuss. Okay, it's clear for you. In the next class, we will study more detail about different functions performed by different cell organelles. Is it clear for you? I think all of you have completed your notes. Up to this, all of you have completed your notes. Last class, we have written about the parts of a microscope and functions of each part. Is it clear? So you have to keep your notes up to date. Today I will give you the today's class notes. Today I will give you through the WhatsApp. If you are having any doubt, you can ask me personally. Is it clear for you? I think you can follow me and follow the class. Okay. So next, I have told you different types of cell organelles are present in our body, and the main questions asked from this part is what? The main questions. One of the question is which is the powerhouse of the cell? I have already told you which is the powerhouse of the cell. Then which cell organelle is known as the exoskeleton of the cell, and why it is called as the exoskeleton. And then which cell organelle is known as the protein synthesis, or which cell organelle helps in the protein synthesis. The first question answer is clear for you. Why, which is the powerhouse of the cell? We have repeatedly told before. Which cell organelle is known as the powerhouse of the cell? We all know that mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. And why mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell? Mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell because it helps in the storage and production of energy. Likewise, which is the exoskeleton endoplasmic reticulum. Is it clear for you? And which is the cell organelle which helps in protein synthesis? It's the ribosome. Likewise, each cell organelle is having different names, special names, and functions performed by them. More detail and everything in more detail we will study in the next part of our chapter. I think up to this it's clear for you, and more information if you are having any doubt and anything to clear about the notes and all, you can ask me personally. clear for you? Okay. Okay, then thank you. Today's class is over.